Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Revere Weekend Roundup, hosted by myself and Ted. We're going to dive into the markets and look at some stuff for the week ahead and some actionable stocks that we are focused on heading into the week.
All right, yeah, let's jump right into it. We'll start off with the market trend gauge per usual every week. The market leaders, we currently have in a bullish uptrend, but we are seeing some deterioration and some reversals and base failures in some names. So we have that cautious yellow arrow up there. Short term, we're still above the 21, so we have the bullish signs. But the thing is, we are having a bifurcated market with some breadth deteriorating, and I'll get into that just in a little bit. The mid caps and small caps are showing some weakness with the rise in rates, catalyzed by the hotter than expected employment report. 50, the median trend, we're still above the 50-day, so we have that, but the same thing as the short-term trend. The mid caps and small caps, and even the Dow is looking a bit weak here. And then long-term trend, same as usual. We aren't even close to the 200-day yet, so we have that in a bullish uptrend. First thing, S&P 500. We opened pretty quietly, and then we started seeing some strength, but with that hot employment number, we saw some volatility Friday. But we still closed at an all-time high on the weekly chart, so that's still really strong. The thing is, you see the RSP, the equal weighted, a lot weaker than S&P. Um, the Mag 7, excluding Tesla, continues to roar on, and while under the hood, stocks are kind of retreating and seeing weaker action. And this is also reflected in the QQQ and the QQQE. As you can see, volatility Friday from the employment report, we did close at an all-time high, so that is good. But the QQQE, we aren't even really close to all-time high yet. We're still even below this local high of May 23rd. And then, like I talked about during the trend gauge, mid caps are below the 10, 20, and 50, and same with IWM. We are in this huge range at this weekly base. So maybe we can continue building out this right side and take out this 212 area eventually when rates come down. Same with mid caps too. But mid caps are actually a bit stronger. We're just retesting the previous all-time high. So this actually looks like a really nice big base and then forming a little base on base here, as you can that I guess you can say it like that. The Dow, same thing. We broke hard and then we wedged into the declining 20. I expect this to perhaps retest this 380 area. VIX volatility still stays low. There's a figure that this is the second longest period in the VIX without 150% move since I think 1990, I believe. So eventually, we are watching out for that. See if volatility comes back in the markets, which could lead to a bigger correction. Employment report, the 1 year, 2 year, 10 year, and 30 year interest rates causing the bond markets to sell off. That was on the hotter than expected inflation report. I mean, employment reports. We did see unemployment rate tick up to 4%, just slowly itching up, but the markets are more worried about just more jobs being added in the economy. And then hourly earnings rose a bit as well. And then high yield and junk real quick. Continue just the base and this huge weekly base, and then corporate bonds as well. The dollar, just like rates, had a huge spike last Friday, and inversely, gold, silver, and copper sold off. And then what is good leading into this week, we have CPI and FOMC Wednesday and PPI Thursday. It is a good sign that crude oil and gasoline futures both have really retreated off their recent highs and living below their 200-day. So that is definitely a good part of we hope that inflation comes in softer than expected. And then just quickly, Bitcoin continues to base in this 13-week base. It's really starting to complete this right side here, forming this little pivot between 72K and this range between 72K and 68K. And the 72K, as you can see, has rejected once, twice, and 3 times, the fourth time here. So if we take out that 72K, we expect Bitcoin to take out all-time highs and perhaps head towards that 100,000 psychological level. Ethereum, we know that the ETF has been approved and it's also working on the right side of its base, starting to form some symmetry here. So going on to breadth real quick, the per market monitor. In this market, we've seen it go from red to green, but barely green, back to red to green to red, and that has really been, I guess, that really just shows the recent action in the past couple of weeks. It's been quite choppy, not too much follow through overall in many names. There are some selected names that are working, but overall, it's still been very choppy. You have to be in the right areas of the market. Net lows last Friday coming back into the markets. And like I pointed out on the podcast, we're making higher highs and higher lows on the indexes, but we're making lower highs and net highs. So pretty much as we're making new highs, we're not seeing as many stocks making new highs. And that's the same thing in the NASDAQ. And actually the NASDAQ is dipping back into net lows as well. So we need to see breadth revive itself here if we have any hope of this market continue too much further. Same with the NYSE and the NASI. Those are in downtrends while the markets are still firmly in uptrends. And then just quickly on the podcast, I also talked about this. Percentage of stocks above the 150 and 200 are also forming bearish divergences. We're well above the 200-day. And as you can see, the percentage of stocks above the 200-day are declining. And the picture for the NASDAQ is even worse. We still can get above the 50% level, and right now we're sitting at 42%, making lower highs and just diverging from the overall market. We definitely want to see that at least get back over 50. CNN fear and greed. We were in fear. We're back on the left side of neutral territory, so that at least that's great to see. But there's still not too much complacency. There's still some fear or just indecision in the markets. People aren't really sure what to do right now. And then AAII, we saw the bear reading tick above historical averages, but the bulls are also above historical averages. So just pretty balanced right now. And then finally, the NAM, we came off a good bit here. So that is good to see from a bull's perspective. And then I'll just quickly touch over the Fed watch tool. For the June meeting, we pretty much have 0% chance or probability priced in for a rate cut. Same with July, a slight 8.8% probability. And then in September, we have a 45% probability for a 25 basis point rate cut, and then about a 4% for a 50. And then November is where we really start expecting that first rate cut. But see how sticky inflation is and how strong the labor market, this 1 to 2 rate cuts could even be taken off the table. But we'll have to see how Jerome Powell and the Fed analyzes, interprets the data, and what they report this coming week. Connor, do you want to go over 10 stocks real quick before I finish off with earnings and the economic calendar?
Yeah, I just shared my screen.
Okay.
Sweet. So yeah, so I got 10 stocks I'm watching this week that I'm gonna walk you guys through. So yeah, DKS, this is the first one. This one caught my attention on this gap update here. And it's pulled back down to the 21-day on super light volume, and it's for post earnings gap flag. So if this can move out of this pivot right here, that would look good. And then
Connor, you want to pull up pins real quick? This reminds me of pins before it broke out. Same kind of situation. So this could be a
very similar. And these retail stocks have been acting pretty well. And I mean, even Sweet Greens, big gap up, U-turn. So you get the gist of the setup. And you always want to see huge volume on the initial gap day. TMDX, this has been a monster. I mean, this has gapped out of this huge multi-month base on earnings. It's trickled higher. Moving averages are starting to catch up on this one, finally given an opportunity. And if you look at the weekly, some super tight weekly closes. So watching this one through those swing highs there. Micron, this continues to drift higher a little bit. And it's just hovering right below these previous all-time highs. And I'll zoom out, and this monthly looks great. It broke out of this huge cup and handle. ONON, like the retail, the apparel shoes have been stocks have been really strong, and this one is forming a continuation flag right here. And if you look at the weekly, this just broke out of a big base, so I like this one for continuation. Futu has held up the best out of the China names, and it's kind of starting to pull back a little bit and get tight right here. And if look at the weekly, acting totally normal to pull back and rest after this big recent move. First Solar, it's got high type flag esque, not book, not the book definition of a high type flag, but I said that huge move up, and now it's have 8, 9 days of tight action. So watching that one through those highs. Hims, this is another one that's just kind of it's a volatile name, but they have really good numbers, growth. The story is pretty cool on this one. So I'll be watching this one if it can pull back anywhere. See if it provides an opportunity. Bros, this is another one, had that huge gap on volume up, and now it's pulled back, and it's when you look at the weekly, I mean it's just breaking out of this base. So that one looks good. Oscar, this had a huge shakeout on Friday, wicked all the way below the 50-day moving average and closed above. I'll just zoom in to show you. It was pretty, yeah, so right off the open, it came in pretty hard and ended up closing high day. And the weekly, it just looks like a retest of that previous weekly breakout spot. And then coin, this is rejecting, this 260 area. It's having trouble, but I would think that, Bitcoin's strong, so maybe this handles right here and then looks to break out through that 260 level. But that seems like the tough resistance for now. So with volume through that level would be good. The weekly looks really good, and like Ted noted, Bitcoin is looking good. So if that breaks out, I would imagine coin would run with it. So yeah, so that's 10 stocks that I'm watching for this week.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna switch over now to this. And yeah, I just want to add one more thing to Connor's segment. When you look at his watch list, there's so many like commonalities. First off, he's looking for a huge weekly base and then a tight daily chart. I think numerous names like Bros, Hims, um, just Sweet Greens. We showcased some other ones which were catalyzed from an earnings reaction. So
Yeah.
having that catalyst and that surprise can really fuel a move. And something like FSLR, there's that like AI backdrop where renewable energy uh, stocks and companies are really helping power those data centers that require a lot of energy. And the whole solar theme was going to. So that theme, sector, group, and catalyst are some of the things Connor looks for and what we look for here to find the biggest winners. So going to earnings this week, there's really not that much. Just three of the bigger companies: Oracle Tuesday after the close, Broadcom, Avgo Wednesday after close, and then Adobe Thursday after the close. And then economic calendar, I've already pointed this out and talked about it. CPI and FOMC, that's a huge day with Powell talking after on Wednesday, June 12th. We have initial jobless claims and PPI Thursday, June 13th. So those will be two big events. And because the markets, like the current market narrative, is heavily on inflation and interest rates and what the Fed is doing, it's FOMC. I mean, pretty much all these economic data points, as you can see, like the employment data points really matter for the price action in the market. So that sums up our weekend video. Connor, do you have anything else to say?
Nope.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can obviously email us at Ted and Connor at revereasset.com or hit us up on Twitter. We're on there tweeting our thoughts every weekend and sometimes during the week as well. So thank you. Hope you guys have a good trading week. FOMC. Prepare for the volatility and always manage your risk. And we'll see you guys next weekend.